The background of the company, I'd like to go into a little bit of detail about first. We're a business that operates has a proposition where we basically have three core technologies. In the center of this picture, you'll see the drones that we operate. This is a very crude illustration, but the important difference with most other drones is that we're talking about a fixed wing drone. It's a long weight of 350 kilos or 3.5 cubic meters of hold space. It's different from a lot of drones that people think of. They think typically of vertical takeoff and landing, lightweight drones, which are sometimes used for last mile delivery. Where we're focusing is on the middle mile of the delivery chain from shipper to recipient. We have a collection facility, or we work with a carrier that has the collection facility. We operate the middle mile, and one of our partners operates the last mile. So we operate between two airports. And what we're developing at the moment is a network of what we call drone ports, minimum infrastructure, low investment, relatively agile, able to open up in smaller airfields and provide all the kind of facilities that we need, enough to dispatch and receive our aircraft, our drones, at the start and finish of the flight. And we also have an automated flight control system. We have a central national operational center in each country that we operate, who look after that flight control system look after the navigation of the airplane. So the business model that we propose to operate, I've described a little bit of this already, where we do the collection and the delivery through partners, and we operate the middle mile. The principle, if you like, is that we own a fleet of drones. We've designed and we've developed them, and we are manufacturing currently. We think that they fit the need of our customers to ship cargo over relatively long distances with good speed and good economy in a very environmentally friendly way. The reason why we think the drone is special, if you like, is that it's an extremely aerodynamic aircraft built with very lightweight materials. So composite carbon fiber materials are used for the wings and the fuselage, which is becoming increasingly the norm in aviation these days to try and get better economy. And as such, we have extremely good efficiency of the aircraft, and to have a range of 2,500 kilometers is almost unheard of in the industry at the moment. And what we think that allows us to do is we can perform essentially same-day delivery over a much longer range than is currently possible. Now, you could say quite rightly that aircraft will get you there, but what we find, or what we see in the market, is that a lot of existing aircraft, existing aviation services may be faster through the air, but often on the loading and unloading and at either end of the journey, they are slower. The handover and the infrastructure at either end tends to be quite significant, and it tends to slow down the delivery. So we think that we can do the speed of air, and we can operate at a cost which is much more similar to road transport. So within Europe, for example, we see the potential to operate from any of the peripheral regions. So for example, Spain and Portugal, from Iberia to Scandinavia, 2,500 kilometer range brings us all the way across Europe from that route that I've just talked about, or from Italy to the UK. And we can do it in a point-to-point basis, operating from smaller, quicker airfields to get in and out of. We propose to operate a scheduled service where we have capacity that can be pre-booked. On scheduled flights, we can also operate on demand. So we will keep a certain number of drones available so that they can be operated on a charter basis, and customers, and in particular around customers looking for spare part distribution, if there's an extraordinary need, we can take that cargo and put it on a plane and take it immediately. So we want to offer a scheduled service and operate on demand as well. The drone is called the Black Swan. The specifications are just outlined on this slide here. It's, I think I said 16-meter wingspan, so fairly significant size. The key metrics here really are around the payload of 350 kilos and the range of 2,500 kilometers. But the altitude we fly at, 22,000 feet, that enables us to fly very efficiently at higher altitudes. And the speed, 200 kilometers per hour, is quite considerably faster than trucks will currently operate at. And especially when you consider that we go in a direct line and we don't have traffic problems or congestion on any of the routes. We don't have a limit on the number of hours that the driver can operate, for example, like trucks have. So we think on those intra-European routes, longer distance intra-European routes, we think we can be very competitive. As I said, the speed isn't the same as a commercial airliner, which operates quite a bit faster, but we save time at either end on the loading and unloading. Where we think we kind of have a niche really is in the requirement where people want to have elements of speed that they currently would have to pay air freight prices for at the cost base of road transport. Now, the business was founded, just to give you a little bit of background, but 2014, the two brothers, Philin and Konstantin. Philin's an economist. His brother Konstantin is an aeronautical engineer. He studied in the Netherlands in Delft. And between them, they looked at what was happening in the world in 2014, and they'd heard Amazon talking about drones, and they were listening to what they were saying about last mile delivery. And I think they thought, well, actually, the opportunity in drones really is in the middle mile. And this is where they designed the Black Swan when they started working on the project. And since then, they've brought in a number of different advisors, and more recently this year, in the last 6 months, a number of key players for the business for the future. The investors and advisors come from a range of backgrounds, from the travel sector, from logistics, Roger Crook from DHL, but also from the airports, from Steven Verhasselt from Liège Airport, and Andrew Cox is from the Facebook drone program that they ran there. The investors in the business, there's a London-based fund called Founders Factory, and there's a couple of other funds, 11 Ventures and Speed Invest from Austria and Bulgaria, respectively. We featured recently in quite a lot of press, and I'll touch on some of that in the later point in the presentation. But in particular, this year, what's been happening is really the growth of the business from a relatively small team where Philin and Konstantin started the business and then started building the prototype and tested a prototype in 2018. They've gone to building the full-size model. And recently we've brought on quite a lot of extra people with, we believe, quite a lot of expertise in their particular part of the business. So, for example, the Chief Operating Officer, Sergio Silva, comes from a pure aviation background. He was one of the founders of NetJets, and he's also worked with Gamma Aviation and a number of other players. The similarity with the NetJets business model, we think, is quite significant, and we think his experience there is very helpful, because NetJets effectively operated through about 3,000 airfields globally on a point-to-point basis, and we think that's essentially the type of solution we'll have, where we will fly from smaller airports direct to the destination, to the nearest possible airfield, and we won't necessarily be operating, we don't aim to operate big hubs with sort facilities, which generally in a distribution point tends to be where you get congestion and delays. So we want to operate point-to-point, and so we think that experience is quite relevant. On the legal side, we have Therese Oldham, who's joined from Thomas Cook, and she's got a lot of experience working with leasing companies, but also aircraft financing, and she's been in the aviation business for quite a long time. Neil has joined from a number of different startup type businesses where he's worked. The bigger ones that he's worked in are Amazon and Nokia, but there's a number of other businesses he's worked with as well. Our our director of finance is based in Bulgaria with a strong background in investment banking. Yvette, my colleague, has worked in a number of different travel businesses, but she's been with Dronamics since the very early days, and she's been closely involved in a lot of customer relations, and in particular, I think she's also presented to this forum before, so you may have met her before. I mentioned a bit about my background already. I won't labour the point on that. A couple of other points. We are the first and only strategic partner for drones worldwide of IATA, and we think that's quite a useful relationship to develop and a good position from where to work. Other areas that we've been increasing our capability and our people are in important areas like managing the airline, and also in the technical expertise that we're using in our applications for regulatory approval. So within the management team, we've just recruited Nigel Brayley, who joins us from Kinetic. He's also got a background in aerospace with Airbus and has a lot of experience in the world of drone development. So that will be invaluable for us in driving the business forward on the airline side. We've also engaged with Lorenzo and Dario on the regulatory advice. They're both very well experienced in this area. They've worked on JARIS. They have worked on different projects on the risk management side, and we expect that they will be offering us, I think, invaluable advice and experience on the approvals, the safety, ensuring that the airline is run with the right kind of due diligence and the right kind of focus on safety in particular, but moreover assuring that we can operate in the right kind of way, in the right kind of place, at the right time, and keep our promises to customers and to investors straight with the regulators and the requirements that we have to operate as an effective airline. So I think it's quite a strong team there. And these are all new people that have joined the business in the last 6 months or so. We've developed quite a strong set of partners now, operating in different parts of the business. We're looking at manufacturing in a number of different areas around the world and speaking to quite a few different partners there. We have some development partners where we're looking at different systems that are important, and we signed up a number of important partners in that part of the project. Suppliers, we're using Rotax engines, for example. We have a number of other suppliers that are listed there that we've chosen for certain aspects of the aircraft, and we're actively engaged with all the different partners listed on the right-hand side to do with the authorization of the operations in the future. So we've done quite a lot of work on developing this ecosystem of partners and people that we're working with. And we're also expanding the network of drone ports. Just today, we announced a new airport partner in Germany, in the south of Germany, Friedrichshafen, serving it's on the Bodensee in the south of Germany, so quite near to some major cities in the south of Germany, and close to Stuttgart, relatively close to Stuttgart, the heart of the the automotive sector in Germany, close to Munich as well. So if you look at the map on the right-hand side, you'll see that within Germany, we already signed up Rostock, Paderborn, and Wies, and we think that the Friedrichshafen in the south of Germany kind of opens up the coverage in that part of Germany quite a lot. We got a number of other airports indicated on the left-hand side of the screen, where we have existing agreements or close to final agreements with all those airports. In some cases, they're not publicly announced yet, but I expect they will be in the not too distant future. So in a nutshell, we're growing the network, we're agreeing terms, and we're identifying space in each of these airports and agreeing terms and conditions for the next 2 years, or for the first 2 years of operation. Yeah, I think developing quite a strong network. In each case, we work with the local airport and with the trade, the logistics trade in the area, to try to identify areas where they're particularly keen on going to. This is with either customers in the local area or customers that we've already established at a regional or global level. So we really want to make sure that we're flying to the airport that is close to the destination where they want to ship to, rather than choosing to go for convenience through a hub for some reason or other. Most of the airports that we're dealing with to date have been, I would guess, you describe them as the smaller side of the end of the scale, but also including some very strong airports in the cargo world, airports that focus exclusively on cargo. Liège being a good example, where it's a very large freight hub, and relatively small for passengers, and it's the kind of airport that's ideal for our service. We also have signed up a number of long-term customer agreements. We were delighted to announce last week an agreement with Hellman Logistics. Hellman plan to offer the service, the Dronamics service, as early as next year. We're expecting that middle of next year we should be in a position to run test flights, and we're hoping that we will have commercial flights very soon after. But certainly we're working with Hellman very closely on that, and we expect another couple of significant announcements in the next week or two as well. So there are additional customers coming on board there. Hellman Logistics have offered some very favorable testimonials, if you like, demonstrating that they really have looked at the market, that they think that Dronamics offers something which is unique, and they describe it as a game changer in logistics. So I think we take some confidence from that and the other customers that are pending announcement, where we know that they've scoured the whole market and they like what they see. So it gives us a little bit more confidence about what we're doing. Yeah, the international and the business media have been quite favorable. They were quite excited by the news from Hellman last week, and it's in international business media, but also in sort of the logistics press as well. We anticipate going global, operating in a few different regions in 2022. Firstly, Europe, secondly, Australia, and thirdly, Canada. We have some very interesting use cases in Australia and Canada in particular. Spare parts plus general freight, operating either across Australia or across Canada. Some focusing on particular industries, some focusing on a multitude of different industries, really exploiting in Canada, for example, the difference between flying across and being trucked across is quite a considerable difference in speed and also in cost. And we've identified with our partners some really unique opportunities there that we think we can cater for very well. Within Europe, we're looking at a number of different areas where we'll have a geographical rollout. We'll go into a little bit more detail on that in the next couple of months. But we'll start off with one initial area and expand beyond that into the neighboring countries. And we hope to also simultaneously apply for approval in a number of different areas shortly after our first application in the coming few months. So 2022, we anticipate operating in Europe, Australia, and Canada. We anticipate following that into various other markets in the following year. The one that we're probably doing quite a lot of work on at the moment is around India. China also has a big opportunity, and we're doing a little bit of work there as well. The indications in the USA at the moment, I think, are that they may be a little bit slower. I know there's some people who have approval there, but in a relatively small scale. The FAA are a body that we've been working with as well, and we're looking forward to operating there eventually when it's possible. Got different activities going on in Japan and the Gulf, and Brazil. We have quite a high level of interest as well. The aim is that we will effectively launch in in certain areas first and expand to the rest of the world. I think we see quite a potential for scaling up. If I give you an idea that one of the customers we're dealing with at the moment has the potential to have demand that by 2030 we will need to be operating about 4,000 drones to service their needs alone. I think it gives you an idea of the potential for the business as we see it today. So I won't go into any more detail than that. I think it's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour, and hopefully it's not too stretching on the time frame. If you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to take those